What up? T-Bob here.
And Jake as well.
And look at you. You done stumbled upon little OTB Saints, where we bring you all the latest black and gold coverage.
Who are the Saints going to draft? Who's going to be their quarterback? What does the salary cap look like? All that information and more.
Hope you enjoy it. Like, subscribe. Nick, what's going on, man? Busy few days. How are we feeling on the other side of the draft?
Feeling good. You know, it's a busy time of year, but yeah, I'm excited about what they got done. There's some guys that I think have a decent future and kind of like the direction of the team right now for like the first time in I think like 3 years. So we'll see if it comes together. But yeah, I think they did good this week.
Okay, so draft grades are a weird thing, right? Because generally, especially if it's like a singular person, now maybe there's more value to be gained in terms of grading against the hive mind. But it's like, you know, did you agree with my assessments or not? Or what draft grades can kind of break down to. So I don't know if I need a grade from you, but it seems like you're pretty bullish. Why are you so bullish on what the Saints did overall here?
I think everything just keeps telling the same story that they were telling in free agency. It's not necessarily about the specific prospects. I mean, we don't know. Like, it's easy to be excited about Spencer Rattler on April 30th, 2024, but are we going to be excited about him on April 30th, 2026? Like, it's impossible to know that right now. But you know, I like the idea of it. But I like the idea of, you know, they got the tackle they had to have to tackle the future, and that builds a future need. I like the idea of getting Kool-Aid in the second round. You know, he's somebody that I think a lot of people thought were a first rounder, and again, it's an eye on the future. Like, it doesn't necessarily help you right this season, but I think it helps you next season for sure. I mean, the future is way up in the air with Marshawn Lattimore. Paulson Adebo's a free agent, and, you know, Alontae Taylor got benched twice last season. So maybe it is an immediate need, but even more long-term, though, like, it opens up the possibility now. And if you had asked me a week ago about trading Lattimore, like, it would have been an insane thing to do. But, like, I think now if you get, like, a strong second-round pick for him, I think it's easier to say yeah to that, and it doesn't feel like you're cutting the legs out on anything. So I like it from that front, but I also like it from the Adebo front, to where you aren't backed into a corner. Like, what if he just kind of had one really good year, and the rest of what we've seen is more in line with what he actually is? Like, maybe he wrote a small sample size. I don't think he did. I kind of believe in the progress with him, but you aren't forced to believe in it. So you can move on now if you want to, and it just opens up better asset management, and your options are more wide open. I like the Christian Boyd pick. You know, I just kind of like everything they're doing. Nothing's just like too all in on right now. It just kind of feels like they're building something that can be good right now, but it's more about tomorrow. And, you know, we've seen that throughout free agency. The draft's telling the same story. So it just feels like there's now like a cohesive vision, I think, for the first time post Sean. And I mean, I guess they had a cohesive vision before, but like it's a more sensible cohesive vision now, I think, moving forward. And, you know, everything they've done this last season fits in that same basket. And I like that. I mean, I just like that it feels like I know what they're doing. It doesn't feel scattershot. Everything's, you know, heading the same direction.
Nick, if Kool-Aid wasn't there, right, and you trade up from 45 to 41, but if he wasn't there, that wasn't the player that you moved up 4 spots for, do you still think they go DB in the second round?
No, I mean, I think going into the second round, the idea really was a wide receiver. I think that was top of the wish list, and the way the first round ended, the way the second round started, just kind of took that out of play. And I think, you know, if there had been a similarly graded wide receiver there that fit the body type, the play style that they wanted, I think that probably would have been the pick. But, you know, I think it was just I think they had a really good grade on Kool-Aid, and, you know, he was sitting there and then was far and away the highest graded player. I think he was the second highest graded player on their board going into day 2, and then you know, someone got took, and then he was there, and, you know, I think it was just he was standing alone at a certain point, and, you know, I think they felt like they had to go up and get him. So I don't think it was DB or bust, cornerback or bust, or anything like that. I think it was just kind of jumping on an opportunity. But, you know, I think jumping on that opportunity is you know, it's not a need today, but it's going to be a big need a year from now.
Well, yeah, and I mean, I would say cornerback's one of those spots too. It's, can you ever have too many, right? Good cornerbacks. Like, it just seems like that's only going to make you stronger. Speaking of receiver, you end up going with Bub Means later on. Very funny name, Bub Means. But big cat, 6'1", 212, runs a 4.43. What is it? What did he say? If you don't block, you don't get the rock. Do you have any? Is it too early to ask if Bub Means makes this team or factors in at all, since that's where you ended up getting some wide receiver help?
Yeah, I think he was someone they would have liked probably 2 rounds earlier. I mean, he's someone that I think they were pretty high on, and there's a lot of those traits. And he kind of feels Traquan Smith-ish, but you got him in the 5th round, so I mean, I think that's great value for that. I mean, I think it's a tough spot to make the team, but I think he probably has a decent chance of doing it. He fits the idea of everything that they need. I think he averaged like 17 yards a catch last year. So I mean, that was. He's kind of bigger, but he can also stretch the field. So it's kind of an interesting skill set. I know he has the right mentality to block. I only took a quick glance at him so far. I haven't quite gotten all the way down to the 5th round yet. But I mean, I think he needs a little bit of work blocking, but there's a willingness. So I mean, if you have the willingness and the size, I think that's something that you can kind of figure out. So they do need that perimeter blocking, and if he can become that, and you pair him in with Cedric Wilson, and they can both do that, I mean, I think he definitely has a chance of making the team. But I mean, that receiver room is kind of deep. I mean, I think the top 4 spots are probably set. Like, I feel like I probably shouldn't feel this way, but I feel like Cedric Wilson's like kind of going to make the team, and there's no reason for that yet. Like, he's not paid very much, but it feels like he has the inside track and he should make the team. And I think they got some interesting guys in free agency too that he's going to have to be competing against. Like the Yale wide receiver ran a 4.3. Kyle Sheets was dominating people D2, but that's a big jump. But there's some talent he's going to have to beat out for sure. And they brought in Quaminius St. Brown, so I mean, there's definitely going to be some good competition there for like the last 2 spots.
Now, Nick, you've been doing this for a long time, and you've probably talked more about a certain 5th-round pick here in this last draft more than any 5th-round pick you ever talked about. And, of course, that's Spencer Rattler out of South Carolina. T-Bob and I broke it down earlier this morning. I think we both love this pick. I think when you look at his career and you look at what he's done, like even going back to Oklahoma, there's certainly flashes that get you excited there. He was behind a bomb squad at South Carolina the last 2 years, certainly last year, and still had plenty of moments. We know what kind of talent he is. And the Saints are able to get him in the 5th round. Like, I love everything about this pick. How did you feel when they went with Spencer Rattler?
Yeah, I loved it too. I mean, look, he was under pressure 206 times last year. I mean, it's just like, it's unbelievable. Like, I'm interested to see what he can do. And look, the Saints line might not be much better immediately, but like behind a decent line, like I'm interested to kind of see what he can do. But like, honestly, like I think when we go out there, first day of practice, he's throwing next to Derek Carr. Like, I think people are going to be surprised by how different it looks. Like, this guy's arm is unbelievable. Like, he like the talent just, there's a lot that goes into playing quarterback. And I think Carr's probably well ahead of him in a lot of different areas, but like the arm talent is just, it's unbelievable. Like, when you're watching him, like, there's just a handful of plays where he does stuff that it's just, I keep going back to the word where it's like unbelievable. He's able to throw the ball the way he does. I think one of the things that works against him is I think, like, when you're a guy that's that touted, like, top recruit, talked about as, like, a potential number 1 pick in the NFL draft, and then things go sideways, I think there's a predisposition to focus on all the stuff you can't do and all the stuff you're doing wrong. Whereas if you're, like, a clean prospect and you're coming into it and you're watching Bo Nix and you're scouting them and, you're a scout for a team even. Like, those guys are taught to talk about, like, what guys can do, not what they can't do. And I just think that, like, if you're Bo Nix and you don't have all this baggage on you, like, you're talked about in a different light. And if you're Spencer Rattler and you kind of, like, failed to use a crude term, but, like, I think, that's probably the truth. Like, he failed to meet the expectations. I think that you're looking at it and you're like, well, the processing isn't here. Like, he's locked in on this guy and this and that. But, like, I think there's a lot of stuff that he can get better at. And I think it probably is going to take a little bit of time. I think he probably should have been, just based on football alone, like, he probably should have been a late 2nd, early 3rd round pick. But I think there's a lot of stuff that he can develop. And I think he has, like, a legitimate chance to become a NFL starter if everything comes together. Cause, like, the arm is that good. And there is a lot of stuff that I thought, he was doing pretty well, but there is, like, that predisposition to lock in on people. Sometimes I don't think he sees the field well enough. Some of the stuff he was doing with pressure was a little bit worrisome. Like, but then again, you look at it and he got pressured 206 times. So, like, having a lack of confidence in the line and kind of panicking sometimes makes some sense because, like, you're under pressure all the time. And I think he got sacked like 40 times. Like, it was just tough to operate. So I think you're going to have to rebuild his confidence there. a little bit. But like the most concerning thing about him is that like there is like some twitching where there's nobody around, and sometimes that can be hard to coach out of somebody. But I mean, as a 5th round pick, like it feels like he has a legitimate chance. And I would be shocked, like honestly, like this year, like this September, if he doesn't beat out Haener as the backup, like I would be shocked if he's not the number 2 quarterback. And then from there you set your sights. But I think 2 years from now, like if a lot of stuff goes right, like he has a legitimate chance to be a starter. Like he can throw. Like he can do a lot of the stuff that you want to see. Like that if he didn't have QB1 attached to him in Oklahoma and all that stuff, like if they got him just kind of as a quiet, clean prospect, 2nd, 3rd round, I think you'd feel good about that in the 5th. Like if he's on the other side of like the arrogance and the attitude and all that stuff, and people say he is, I mean, the draft status says that like a lot of teams don't feel that way, but if he is on the other side of that, like I think he does really have like a legitimate chance of developing and becoming something.
God, yeah, it's just so crazy to think. The kid it was a high school TV show, dude. It's tough. It's tough. I wouldn't want to be on TV in high school, certainly.
Oh God.
like, what are we talking about? Now, maybe I kind of buried the lead here, which is, look, 1st round, you end up going with Fuaga out of Oregon State, a cat who, in many ways, I know Fashanu seemed to be the guy that we were maybe mocking more, but Fuaga in many ways seems like he matches up perfectly. At Oregon State, they ran a ton of outside zone. That's what we imagine Kubiak's going to want to do. What I find to be interesting, Nick, and maybe you can help me kind of make sense of this, is everybody keeps telling me, well, he's such a good run blocker. He's such a good run blocker, and his pass blocking's a bit behind. But then I think I read that you wrote he's never given up a sack in college. Like, I feel pretty good about that if the pass block is behind and you've never given up a sack.
Yeah, it's funny. It's like all of them. Like all the guys, I don't think Joe Alt ever, I think Joe Alt gave up one. I don't think Fashanu ever gave up one. Fuaga, I don't know. It's a weird thing. I guess these guys just like are dominating all the time. It's kind of surprising to see those numbers and how they come together. But I like him a lot, man. Like he's probably got the lowest ceiling out of the top 4 guys that went. But I think his floor is incredibly high. Like I don't see a scenario where he busts and that's going to come back and haunt me probably just because I just said it. But like I don't see a scenario where he isn't good. Like he just looks that polished, that solid already. Like there isn't a ton. Like Fashanu, like you're looking at it and you're projecting a lot. Like when you watch Fuaga, it's just kind of like you see it, and I don't think that there's like a ton of room for like like crazy trajectory. But I think he's going to come and he's going to be good. He's going to be solid. He's going to get a little bit better, and I think you're going to put him into one of those spots and not have to worry about it for 10 years. Like he just kind of feels like that kind of player, and he's exactly what they needed. Like if they went into this draft and they didn't get the tackle, it would have felt like a disaster. They almost traded out of the spot, which is kind of interesting, but it's a pick that I feel like they had to make, and the way it fell, I mean, I feel like they should feel fortunate that they got him, because like if you told me that there were 6 quarterbacks going in the top 13, like I would have thought they would have their choice between at least 2 of these guys, and it was just all quarterbacks, wide receivers, and tackles. Like, no defensive play. Like, I would have never projected that with all 6 in there. And they managed to still get one, and it takes a lot of pressure off of that spot. Like, if we were sitting here right now and they did everything else, but they didn't get the tackle, it would feel like a total failure. Like it just would. There'd just be this like huge, massive concern, and this guy checks the box, and I don't think there's anything to dislike about it.
Wow, just amazing black and gold takes right there, Jake.
I don't think I've ever heard any takes that are better than the 2 guys that just gave you that take.
And you can keep getting them by going ahead and liking, subscribing, ringing the bell to get notifications when we post. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next OTB Saints.